Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to a brand new Wild Rift guide, and in today's guide we'll be taking a look at the other new champion that just got released, Senna the Redeemer. In this video we'll be taking a look at everything you need to know with Senna. We'll go through the abilities, the build, and we'll also have gameplay to show off to you all as well. If you haven't already, if you enjoy the content, make sure you just scroll down a little bit and you hit that subscribe button. Be very much appreciated. And whilst you're down there, make sure you like the video and comment down below which champion you're enjoying more. Is it Senna or is it Lucian? Now without further ado, let's head into today's guide. Enjoy. Senna is a marksman support that can be played in both the duo lane or as a support depending on which playstyle suits you. Senna is a scaling champion, meaning that in the early game she's not as strong, but the later the game goes and the more souls she collects, the stronger she becomes. Moving on to the build, in this video we're taking a look at a tanky support Senna build. This build benefits a lot from building a lot of health and attack damage that works well with the items and the runes with Senna, but you also have a lot of armor penetration and armor reduction as well. So when you scale into the late game with your stacking of the souls, which I'll explain in a second, you'll be able to do a lot of damage against some big tanks. First up, we have the Frozen Mallet. Gives you a lot of maximum health and also a bit of attack damage as well. As mentioned, these are the two stats which are going to be the main point of this build. And it also has a really nice passive as well. As I mentioned, this build is all about slows. So it attacks slow enemies by a percentage for 1.5 seconds. The slow amount is half for ranged attacks, but honestly, this is still a great item for Senna. Allows her to be really tanky, but also her auto attacks allow her to slow down the enemies. Next up, we have Black Cleaver. Again, you got maximum health and you got the attack damage, which is always needed. But you also have ability haste now as well, so it allows your abilities to be on cooldown less. And Black Cleaver also has two really nice passives as well that work really well with Senna. You have the Sunderer passive, which dealing physical damage to a champion reduces their armor by 5% for a few seconds, stacking up to 5 times. You can stack this really well with Senna. Obviously, with the slows as well from the Frozen Mallet, you're able to auto attack more and use more abilities and land more abilities, so you can stack that up really well. And you also have Rage as well, which dealing physical damage grants movement speed and kills grant even more movement speed as well. So as you're auto attacking and slowing down the enemies, you're also gaining movement speed yourself, so you can catch up and you can keep dealing damage and doing a lot for your team. Next up, for the boots choice, we have Boots of Swiftness in this build. The movement speed slows are reduced by 30%, which is the main part of these boots. So it's really well. As mentioned, you're gaining a lot of movement speed and you're also slowing down the enemies as well. It's all about auto attacking and gaining them souls over time. Next up, we have a rapid fire cannon, a bit of a niche, I would say, item in this build, but rapid fire cannon actually works really well. But the main reason you get this is for the energize and also for the fire cannon barrel. As you're moving around, you gain stacks, and at maximum stacks, you gain more attack range. Now, over time with Senna's passive, you'll gain attack range depending on how many souls you have. This allows you to get even more attack range. You'll be auto-attacking from a distance with the Frozen Mallet, obviously slowing down the enemies, which will allow you to hit your abilities easier and also help your team jump on the enemy carries. Moving on, we have Umbral Glaive. Umbral Glaive is a nice support item, but also can deal a lot of damage. You got the attack damage and the ability haste as well for the cooldown. You got a bit of armor penetration, but a really great part about this item is Blackout. Being spotted by an enemy ward reveals traps and disables wards around you for a few seconds. And the attacks on them wards instantly destroy them as well. So it's really good for clearing vision around them objectives and making the enemy team walk to you in complete blind vision. And then lastly, we have Morsel Reminder, again for the attack damage, for the armor penetration, and also being able to reduce the healing of the enemy champions. As mentioned before, you're going to be having a lot of range, so you're going to be auto-attacking a lot of champions from distance. So it's really nice to apply the Grievous runes really easily, so they're not healing a lot when they're trying to go into a team fight. For runes, we have Grasp Me Undying, not really considered as a support rune, but it works really well with this build and with Senna in general. Every 4 seconds in combat, your next attack on a champion will be enhanced based on your maximum health. You heal a percentage of your maximum health. You permanently increase in terms of health as well. And you also deal bonus damage depending on how much maximum health you have. All these effects are reduced for ranged targets, but honestly, just overall allowing you to get more maximum health and be a tanky Senna is really, really nice. And again, works really, really well with this build. Next up, we have weakness. Weakness works really, really well with Frozen Mallet. Weakness impairing the movement of enemy champions makes them take 5% more damage. So that's the slows from Frozen Mallet and also a root from your second ability as well. So when you're auto attacking from range, if an ally jumps on that champion as well when they're slowed, they're going to be taking 5% more damage. Loyalty, a great support rune, especially for laning phase. You gain 2 armor and 5 magic resist, so you're able to take a little bit less damage. But your closest allied champion also gains 5 armor and 2 magic resist. And lastly, we have Mana Flow Band. With Senna, you will be spamming your abilities a lot, so sometimes you might feel like you're going to be a bit low on mana. This is where Mana Flow Band comes in to help out. Hitting enemy champion with an ability or empowered attack permanently increases your maximum mana by 30 up to a maximum of 300, so you can stack this 10 times. And lastly, for spells, we have Flash and we have Heal. Heal, in my opinion, is the best support spell to go right now. It will not only heals your team, but it also heals yourself as well, keeping yourself alive. If you're against a lot of assassins, a lot of champions are going to dive onto you. You can also go for exhaust as well, but Heal, in my opinion, is the best option to keep you and your team alive. Now, taking a look at Senna's abilities, first off we have her passive, which is Absolution. Senna can absorb mist by attacking souls that spawn from dead enemies. This can also happen to minions as well. She can also siphon mist from enemy champions she hit twice as well within the last 4 seconds. So if you land an auto attack and you land your first ability, you'll be able to collect mist from that as well. Each stack of mist grants 1 attack damage, and every 20 stacks of mist grants 25 attack range and 15% critical chance. Now, as Senna goes over the critical strike chance, 35% of that excess critical strike chance is converted into physical vamp to keep her alive. Senna's weapon, her relic cannon, attacks take extra time to fire, dealing bonus physical damage and briefly granting Senna a bit of bonus movement speed. Now, Senna does not gain extra attack damage on level up, and her critical strikes deal 50% less damage. Now, as mentioned, you can collect all this mist from if they drop from either minions or monsters or even champions. But the way you do it from attacking champions is when you auto attack once, you can see there's mist flying out from it. You auto attack again and you collect a stack. Now, the number of stacks you can see are at the bottom of the screen, just next to the little energy icon on the left hand side. So when you get more stacks, it will go up. So now I have 2 stacks. And that can keep happening as well. So you can attack multiple allies and gain multiple stacks over time. So as you can see, I'm now up to 4 stacks. So this will keep scaling throughout the whole game. But the longer the game goes, the more stacks you have, the bigger Senna will become. Next up for Senna, we have Piercing Darkness, which is her first ability. Very similar to her counterpart Lucian, which is Piercing Light. Senna shoots a bolt of piercing shadow through any objects, dealing physical damage to enemies and restoring health to allied champions. And your attacks reduce Piercing Light's cooldown by 1 second each time. And this ability cast range matches Senna's attack range, and its cast time is improved with attack speed. It applies on hit effects to enemy champions as well. So again, as the game goes on and you gain more stacks, your first ability will also gain range as well, and it applies on hit effects. And one on hit effect, which is really important, which I mentioned in the build, is Frozen Mallet. Now, with this ability, as you can see, it's not that big of a range at the moment because I haven't collected that many souls. But as the game goes on, the ability will get longer. And when you use the ability, as you can see, it can apply on hit effects, and you can also collect the souls as well from each of the champions at the same time. So this ability works really, really well to sustaining laner phase, but also to poke down the enemy champions. Next up for Senna, we have her second ability, which is Last Embrace. Senna sends forth a wave of blackness, dealing physical damage to the first enemy hit. After a second delay, the target and other enemy champions nearby are rooted for a few seconds. Really easy and straightforward ability. As you can see, that is the radius of the ability. And when you use the ability, the first enemy it hits, it will hit them, and as you can see, there's a little radius around it. So after a second, everyone will be rooted in that area. So it's really nice for a little bit of crowd control to help your team. Next up, we have Curse of the Black Mist, which is Senna's third ability. Senna dissolves into a cloud of mist for a few seconds, becoming a wraith. Allied champions who enter the mist are camouflaged and become wraiths when they leave. Wraiths gain movement speed and are unseeable, and hide identities as long as no enemies are nearby. The camouflage effect are the units are hidden from view. They are revealed by nearby enemy champions, turrets, and true sight. All the third ability is a nice movement speed ability that allows you to become hidden for a few seconds. When you use the ability, you can see the radius around, so you can move over allies so they become wraiths as well. You get some nice movement speed as well. But as you can see, when you go close to an enemy champion, there'll be a little exclamation mark above you. This means that you will be seen. So if you see that above you, you know that you're seen, so you know that you need to be a little bit more careful when moving towards enemies. And lastly, we have Senna's ultimate, which is Dawning Shadow. Senna fires a global wave that shields allies for a little bit of damage for a few seconds, whilst also dealing physical damage, and applies mist to enemies caught in the center. This ultimate is a global ultimate that can be used pretty much anywhere on the map, and is a great tool, especially during team fights. So it's always good with Senna to just keep your eye out on the mini-map at all times to see if there are any fights anywhere else on the map. Could be in the mid lane, could be down near the Rift Herald. You can use your ultimate and it will always impact any sort of fight, and hopefully try and help out your team. Now, one important thing to note with the ultimate is that enemies will only get damage if they're hit in the little middle part of the ultimate. As you can see here, the ultimate is basically in 3 layers, I would say. You got the left side, the middle line, and the right side. But if I hit the enemies in the middle, they will get damaged. But if I hit them in the 2 edges, so either the left or the right hand side, they won't get damaged at all. But as you can see, in terms of allies, if they could be hit anywhere within the width of the ultimate, and they will be shielded. So I can go right into the edge here and basically not even target them, but because they're within the range still and they're within the radius, they will still get shielded over a period of time. Now let's take a look at the skill order for Senna. When you first come out of base, you want to use your first ability. This is a great way to start stacking souls early on and just to poke down the enemies. And you can also heal your allies at the same time as well. At level 2, you want to go for your second ability. If you can land a nice and easy route on an enemy, this can help set up a great fight in the laning phase and also allow you to stack up your souls really easily. Then after that, when you want to go for your third ability, so you have all your abilities available. And then first you want to max your first ability. This allows it to be even stronger. Then after that, you want to go for your second ability for the root. And then lastly, you want to go for your third ability. Obviously making sure that you level up your ultimate when available as well. And at this point of the game, when you're level 15, you'll probably have, I would say, around about 70, maybe 100 stacks if you stack really, really well. So you've got a lot of attack damage, a lot of attack range, and you could do really well to carry as a support for your team. Overall, Senna is a great champion if you're looking to play a support that has a lot of carry potential. When playing Senna, it's important to always keep an eye on your souls and prioritize stacking them as much as you can. And when you're at them points of the game, when you know you have that point of you've got extra attack range, you know that you can try and start a team fight and try and help your team win the game. As a support, your main goal is to help and support your team. So make sure to heal and shield your allies when available to help them carry the game. That's the end of our look at Senna and an in-depth guide. Hopefully you all enjoyed. We've now taken a look at Lucian and Senna, and we also have Akshan coming out at the end of the month as well. So if you want a guide for that, make sure you subscribe and make sure you stay tuned for that. And as always, take care, and I will see you all very soon. Peace.